In the words of the great Mills Lane of Celebrity Deathmatch, let's get it on!
Oh my God.
The NBA's Play-In Tournament, it's set, Jesse Cofield. A lot of star power. It starts tonight. Nets and Cavs. The winner will advance to face the Celtics.
Yeah, the Celtics sneaking by without having to play that.
Sneaky, sir.
Sneaky. The other game tonight pairs Timberwolves, Clippers in the West. Hawks, Hornets go tomorrow, as do the Pelicans and Spurs.
Yeah. Welcome to The Sweat, everybody. Alongside Jesse Cofield, I am Emerson Latzia. So today's show, I'm not kidding you when I say this, it is historic because we have our own play-in tournament going down. This is huge. I know there's dozens of us here who are very excited about
Yeah, so
this.
4 analysts, a pair of head-to-head battles. We're going to ask 5 questions in each matchup. Each question has a numerical answer, right?
Okay.
So the analyst who gets it right or is the closest to the correct answer is going to get the point. So most points after 5 questions moves on.
They get to basically advance to do more work. So
Yes.
we totally expect a few of these guys to actually be thinking on purpose. Like,
Don't do that.
Like lazy Julian Edlow, one of our DraftKings contributors, and also Nick Fryer. This is a heavyweight affair here, Flannel Fryer. All right, this is the first question. You ready? Here we go. How many Twitter followers does Kevin Durant have, Jules?
Oh my God. 1.2 million.
Okay, Nick?
What is 1.5 million?
All right.
Okay, you're both so far off.
way off, but Nick was
Nick
was
wins.
the closest.
It's 19.7 million.
Okay.
19.7 million?
Yeah!
Yep, it certainly is. Next question.
Nikola Jokic is in line to win his 2nd straight MVP award. He also averaged the most DraftKings fantasy points of any player this season. So how many DK points did the big man average, Nick?
I'm going to say 58.7.
Julian?
What was it?
Okay, so Nikola
58.
Jokic.
No. What was your answer? 58?
You said
Point
No,
seven.
don't tell him. No, you weren't listening.
it was 58.7.
58.7.
What the?
Okay, yeah. 59.
See, that's why I didn't want you guys to tell him.
Dude,
Julian wins. Julian wins.
What do you know?
Because it was
This is under
61.2.
protest.
I mean, like, listen, this is when, yes, it
You
was.
knew. I was either gonna tank or I'm gonna cheat. So I'm gonna try and cheat.
Oh
Yeah,
my
Thank you for helping him, you guys.
If you
God.
watch The
Appreciate it.
Price
The
is
fix
Right.
in.
All right,
I
we're not gonna help Julian anymore by repeating anything.
All right, here we go.
Too late. The damage is done.
On
All
the
right,
DK,
I'll try and listen.
All right,
on the
you're
DK,
tied.
here we go, guys. You are tied 1-1 right now. On the DK Sportsbook, the highest game total this season was between the Timberwolves and the Rockets on April 3rd. What was that number, Nick?
Oh, okay. It's me again.
You're
All right.
going to
I'm
Nick
gonna
first. You just know.
Wait,
Julian.
Julian first. Winner will go. Yep, that's right. Go
Thank you.
ahead. Sorry.
242 and a half.
Nick?
243.5.
Oh my God! I hate this. I hate the way
Oh,
this is
come
playing
on.
out.
Nick wins.
Nick wins. It was.
I was going to say 245 beforehand originally, but that's
Okay,
what
well,
get
you
to
would
it.
have won. Yeah.
It was 246 and a half. I believe 139, 132 combined 271 points. I think that was an overtime game too.
Okay, question 4. Joel Embiid became the first 76er to win the scoring title since Allen Iverson in 04-05. How many scoring titles did Iverson win in his career? We're going to start with Nick.
I'm going to say 3. Yeah, 3.
Well, it's not more than 3, so it's 2.
Wait.
It's 4!
It is. It is 4. Yeah. Wow, Jules.
So
I thought it was 3. I thought it was 2 or 3, but so I wasn't gonna go 4.
You know
I
what?
had to go on there.
Okay, here we go.
final question.
Yeah, largest favorite on the DraftKings Sportsbook this season, guys, was the Jazz over Portland on March 9th. What was the Utah money line, Nick?
I'm going to say 18.5.
That's not a money line.
That's yeah,
but,
money
okay.
line,
Oh,
money
money line,
line,
sorry, I'm
money
thinking
line.
All right,
Oh,
no,
whatever,
you
yeah.
got to stick to that.
That's all right. I won anyways. You lost to an idiot.
Jules,
How you feel about
you
that?
could literally answer any, like you could say anything and almost
Yeah,
win
you
this.
can't win,
Yeah,
Julian.
like minus 2,800.
Oh, that was close. Minus 3,300.
Yeah.
But
there.
Nick
wins.
wins.
Nick had 3 dubs. You had 2, Jules. So you're
Yeah.
tanking. It actually really worked out in your favor because now you don't have to do any more work in this show.
Yeah. The embarrassing part is that I didn't tank. I actually cheated to try and win it. Well,
You can't even cheat properly.
Yeah.
And I gave a spread pick over
No.
money line, and you still lost.
You
I'm pretty
fraud.
bad.
Yeah.
All right, so
Bye.
Nick, hang out. Yeah, Jules, I guess, enjoy the rest of your
Yeah.
day. 3 minutes of work.
Nets and Clippers tonight. There's my analysis.
Okay, awesome. Nick, hang out because you are going to play the winner here between DraftKings contributor Matt
Can I at least
Meiselman.
watch?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. I know
right.
you like to do that.
Great.
And RotoWire's Nick Whalen. So this is our second plan. Let's go with the first question, dudes. Winning Time is a popular show on HBO right now about Jerry Buss purchasing the Lakers and creating the dynasty of the 80s. How much did Buss pay for the team in 1979? Nick.
I'm going to say he paid, $10 million.
Meiselman.
Ooh, I have not watched this yet, so this is a good start for me. I will go with $13 million.
All right, you're both, again, way off, but you were closer, Meiselman. $67.5 million.
Yeah.
It's now worth $4.6 billion, seventh most valuable sports franchise out there.
All right, guys.
I have questions about that valuation.
Yeah.
You guys are not very good at numbers.
A lot of questions. Okay, question 2. So tonight on the 2-game play-in slate, KD going to cost you $12K to roster. That is not, however, the highest salary on a slate this season. So what was the highest salary on a DK NBA slate during the regular season? Matt, what do you think?
Okay, so I just need the number. I don't need the player, right?
No, just a number.
I'll go 12,800.
Nick?
I will say 13,800.
It is 12,600. So
Wait a
Matt's on a roll. He just took the
How
second
does that,
one.
well, are we doing is it closest without going over? Producer
No,
slates?
no.
We're just going to say closest. Okay,
No.
then no one get a point. All right, great. All right.
All right.
I just,
You're just going to ask that in the middle of the game? Like,
Yeah.
we didn't just already have
Don't
an
you
entire...
love making up your own rules as you go along?
Question 3.
All right, so, dude, wow. Okay, Matt, off to a hot start. Highest spread on the DraftKings Sportsbook. It happened twice this season. Both Dallas and Utah were heavy favorites in games against Portland. What was that spread, Matty?
I will go with 21.5.
Nick?
And that's pretty much right what I was going to say as well. I'm gonna go slightly under. I'll go 20.5.
All right,
All right,
Nick!
Nick!
Nick with his first dub!
It
Could
was
be a
19
28-3
1/2.
comeback here, baby. Let's go.
There we go. There we go.
All right, guys. Warriors guard Jordan Poole had the highest free throw percentage in the league this year.
Dang.
Nick, what was it?
I will say he was at 92.4%.
Matt,
Okay.
what do you
I
think?
have a problem. I have a problem here because that's the answer. So can I pick it also? Like, this is the right answer. That's how confident I am in Nick's guess.
Okay,
I'm gonna
it's-
also go
it's-
with 92.4.
It's 92.5, but we'll give it to you both.
Yeah, I mean, I think we may have rounded up on that one, just to keep it simple.
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah.
Could I pick 92.41? Is that allowed?
Well, no, we just told you the answer, so you
Yeah, I
can't.
don't know. I think what
We're gonna give it to you
no,
both.
no, I think we give it to Nick. That way it comes
So
down
I'm
to
going for
this.
the tie?
I'm giving it to Nick since he answered it first, and that way it's 2-2, and that way it all comes down to this last question.
Okay.
Wow,
Wait,
I
wait,
am
wait.
sweating. My pits
To
are
be
moist.
clear,
Julian and do the
You have
opposite
to
of
go to
cheating
Matt
and
first
just
on
be
this
as
next
honest as
question.
possible.
Okay.
Because you've been messing that up.
All right, sounds good. Tied at 2. Matt, you will answer this last one first. A lot of pressure. Maverick star Luka Doncic here. He set new career highs in points, assists, and rebounds this year, but also led the league in turnovers per game. How many did he average, Mr. Meiselman?
We don't talk about turnovers. These are not prop bets that we ever care about. So
Exactly. We're
I'm
trying to
gonna go
mess you
with-
up.
4.6.
All right, Nick. Wow, this is it.
Good
This is the
guess.
future of your career right here.
It really is. It really is. And it's fitting. As a high turnover player myself in pickup games, I empathize with Luka here. I'm going to go 4.4.
Wait a minute! All right, Slate, you got to drop like a tiebreaker in because. All right, who's second? Who's second?
Okay, but you gotta let Nick,
Nick, answer first. Nick, who was second?
Okay, you guys both got that
Hold
one.
on. Just to be clear, we have 2 ties.
No, dude.
No, because we're asking another question now.
Yes, exactly.
And you guys didn't guess the
The
same.
answer was 4.5 there. Okay?
Yeah.
One of you went one up, one of
So
you
he
one down.
just edged out somebody who was averaging what, Nick?
Well, give
we
us
need
the
to name
name
the player or
first.
the
All right,
number?
it was James Harden.
James Harden.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So we need to say the number. All right. 4.2 then.
Matt?
4.3.
Oh, Matt gets
my
it. It was
God.
4.4. That was good.
I am on the edge of my
Wow.
rolly
Oh,
chair.
I know.
That was incredible.
Possibly
I
even
mean,
closer.
that was an excellent game. The competition.
That one
I
was
on
so
the edge
much
of my
better than the
seat.
first one. That's
Yeah.
it's just what's great when two people try, and it
Yeah.
wasn't just like it was only Fryer like
Yeah.
trying the first time. Okay, so Nick, I guess that's it. A for effort. Meiselman,
All right.
you versus Fryer right now.
But
Now it's
it's just
now it's just
you
a
guys
play-in
just get
preview.
to do more work. Now you're on our play-in preview panel. Woo!
Now this will-
You did it.
This will be like when you give real information now that people at home will be listening to. Okay.
God, how can we just
play
do the
against the
show
Suns and
after
the
the
Grizzlies
excitement
now.
of that? I just
know.
want to leave.
I'm gross. Like I'm so sweaty right now.
Oh man.
All right, here we go. So Cleveland and Brooklyn, guys, they're going to kick things off at 7 Eastern time. Both these teams finishing with identical 44 and 38 records. So when it comes to DFS, as we've mentioned earlier, Kevin Durant's going to cost you 12 grand on this two-game slate. Probably a must-have in your winning lineup, but like, what's your strategy going to be here, Fryer?
Well, when I'm looking at this Cleveland-Brooklyn game, I mean, in general, we're looking at this slate, and you're playing the main contest. You're going to have to have two of the stars from either of these games. There's Darius Garland, of course, in this game as well, and Kyrie Irving. And Kyrie's actually the guy that I want to go with tonight. You're going to be able to save a little bit at 10.7K versus KD. And you know, with him, I know he logged 41 DK fantasy points against Cleveland last time out, but they're going to have to tighten up along the perimeter. Cleveland is, if they're going to have a chance at contending in this game, which means you're going to have Kyrie and KD creating some semblance of offense. Of course, the stars show up in this, and Kyrie is against his old team too. I think he's going to want to send a message just as much as KD, even more so because it's his old team. So Kyrie's a guy that I like in this one, and if you're looking for a pay down option, I think that Kevin Love in that mid-range at 6K is the guy that I like among those bigs.
Okay, Maddie, how do you approach this?
Well, first of all, yeah, I'm happy to be here with Nick in the playoffs.
Yeah, congratulations.
I do think that this is going to be a slate where people use a stars and scrubs build because there are some value plays to like, and there's a lot of high-level expensive players. So I think in the mid-range, Kevin Love is a good call. Andre Drummond might be my preferred option there because I do actually think people are going to play Nick Claxton, who might be the go-to value play for most people on this slate. So Drummond gets you leverage off Claxton. If Drummond's playing well, if the game is close, then we probably see less of Claxton and more of Drummond. So it's hard to pick between Durant and Kyrie and Towns and George. I think they're all good options. But in the mid-range, I do think that Drummond is the guy who just gets way overlooked at 6,500. He's a little too expensive. So I might actually start my lineups with him.
All right, let's talk about this Cleveland-Brooklyn game. The Nets, 9.5-point favorites. Nets won 3 of 4 meetings between these teams this year by an average of about 8.5 points. So, Matt, what's your favorite bet tonight?
So I think the Celtics are going to handle the Nets fairly easily once they play them. But for tonight's game, I am going to go with the Nets. Even at minus 9.5, which is a point higher than this line open, I still think the Nets are able to handle this game pretty easily. The Cavs I don't think are a good team without Jared Allen. Like, this is their best player. I know Darius Garland's had a great season, but Allen was really the thing holding them together defensively. Evan Mobley can kind of do that, but I think they needed both of them. And then Allen is a good offensive player too, and having to rely on Kevin Love and Lauri Markkanen for offense is going to hurt them defensively. So I just think Allen gives them the best of both worlds when he's on the court. They don't have him. I think the Nets are a much better team. So to me, this line should be like 11 or 12, and it's just a little bit too low.
All right, Nick, what's your favorite bet in this one tonight?
So I am going to get a little cute with this one when we talk about Evan Mobley a little bit. I always look for his blocks props throughout the course of the season. He's obviously got a ton this year. My pick for rookie of the year when you're talking about him versus Cade Cunningham. And when you over 2 blocks per game this season, he's had 36 of his 69 starts. He had at least 2 blocks. I actually want to parlay that with the Nets winning this straight up on the money line. If you like the points, by all means, go ahead and add that too. It's only going to help the bet. But I think taking the Nets to win, going with Evan Mobley here in his 2 games back since he had that little layoff for injury and resting and everything, 2 blocks, then 4 blocks. One of those games was against the Nets. The Nets are 21st in opponents' blocks per game this season. If you want to go with the Mobley bet straight up because you don't want to have to root for the Nets, I understand that too. You're just going to get a much better payout if you go and back the Nets as well.
Yeah, just something to note. Most bet player prop tonight is the Kevin Durant over 31.5 points.
Okay. That's cool. Let's go to the second game tonight. Let's start on the DFS side like we did with the first one. Clippers visiting Minnesota in the second play-in game. Winner gets the 7 seed. We'll play Memphis. So Karl Anthony Towns, the most expensive player from that game at 10-3. How are you looking to approach this matchup from a DFS perspective, Nick?
I think that where you got to start things off is with Paul George. And I understand playoff P. I understand people want to mock him, but there was a time where this guy was pretty tough in the postseason. It didn't matter who he was going up against. And I still think that we can see that guy tonight. Of course, this is a pace-up matchup for him. And we've seen him do a little bit of everything since he's returned. This is what he rested for. This is not necessarily the play-in game specifically, but the postseason. So I have no problem backing him tonight. And one other thing that also leans me toward a bet that we'll talk about in a second related to Paul George, Minnesota gave the 4th most rebounds to opposing shooting guards this season and the 5th most assists to opposing shooting guards during the regular season too.
Okay, Matt, what do you want to do here?
Well, I think I'm going to go pretty far off the board and pick Naz Reid and not Karl Anthony Towns as a center choice. I just think Towns, being only a little more expensive than George, but probably a better fantasy player, and then much cheaper than the guys on Brooklyn, I think he ends up being the most popular player on the slate. And there are a lot of ways that Towns can have a bad game. I mean, blowout is the obvious one, but this game should be close. So that's not really what I'm looking for here. But Karl Anthony Towns gets in foul trouble all the time. And yes, this could be a game where he stays in with more fouls than you'd be comfortable with because it is kind of a must-win game. But it isn't really. These teams could lose and then still go on and win their next game. But either way, like Towns getting in foul trouble does happen from time to time. And Naz Reid will essentially play any minute that Karl Anthony Towns is not on the court. So I think from a leverage perspective, this is the spot. I think really it's 2 centers. Drummond, who I mentioned before, over Claxton. You can pay above Claxton to get Drummond. And then I think here you can pay down from Towns to Reid. Because if something happens to Towns, an injury or just foul trouble, Reid is the guy who benefits very, very directly, and I just don't think anyone's playing him. So this is purely a tournament play, but I really do like Naz Reid for leverage for this game.
Another fun sports betting fact for tonight. 3rd most popular prop, Paul George over 7.5 rebounds, plus 115. Nick, I think you were alluding to that.
Not specifically that bet, but along those lines. Paul George to get a double-double tonight is actually the one I like most. I think it's plus 240 right now on DraftKings Sportsbook. Had a double-double last time out, 3rd with a triple-double in that game as well. I think he came like a rebound or 2 short in that, but got 12 assists. The game before that, he had 9 rebounds too. This is a guy who's going to want to do it all in this one because he kind of has to if they're going to go and win this game. And as I mentioned earlier, Minnesota has given up a lot of rebounds to opposing shooting guards this season and a lot of assists. So he can do it in multiple ways, 2 ways, and that's what you need in this kind of situation. I think Paul George is really going to try and do as much as he can to push his team over this one. So backing him to get a double-double is the easiest way to go tonight.
All right, Maddie, what about you? What's your favorite bet in this one?
I'm sort of on the same page here. Different player, but the same theme. So I like Reggie Jackson's rebounds prop. And Nick talked about the Wolves rebounding versus guards. I guess that would help Jackson too. And I'm not even sure that you can classify Jackson point guard, George shooting guard, or vice versa. Like they both kind of handle the same role. But I think really what we're going to see from the Clippers is the key players playing more minutes than normal. And Reggie Jackson hasn't reached 4 rebounds in a game in like 3 weeks now. But the Clippers were also really cautious with the minutes of their starters for a long period of time. And earlier in the season, Jackson was going over 3.5 rebounds very regularly. So I think we could see 35 to 40 minutes out of Jackson and probably even more than that from Paul George, because at the other positions on this team, the Clippers have a lot of depth. The backcourt is where they don't really have it, and I think we see Jackson and George play the vast majority of this game. The Wolves are a high-paced team. There should be a lot of stats to go around. So I do think Jackson goes over 3.5 rebounds, probably playing 36 or more minutes.
All right, guys. Once again, congratulations on advancing to the preview of the play-in round. But
So proud of you.
a nice historic moment for both of you. Something to put on your
competition.
LinkedIn profile for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we got 2 more dudes who are going to duke it out.
Yeah.
Put up your bukes. Steve versus Gary, and coming up right after this break. Ladies and gentlemen, episode 2 of the DraftKings newest, latest podcast, Baseball is Dead, hosted by Jared Carabas, live right meow. Jared and friends taking a look back at the start of the season. Plus, they dissect some of the bad blood between players and teams that highlighted a drama-filled opening weekend. Go download it, please, wherever you get your podcasts. You can get them like everywhere these days.
Yeah, you can get those podcasts anywhere. You can listen to them anywhere.
You really can.
On the gym, on a walk with your dogs, whatever you want.
You know what? So I know that Jared and the boys were talking about some bad blood. A lot of people this morning have been talking about what the hell went down between like the Mets.
Oh yeah, there was that bet,
Yeah, Mets and the
notable
Phillies.
bet, $100K on the Mets money line, plus 130 to pay 230K.
Okay.
Philly then scored 5 runs in the 8th
Yep.
to make this a bad beat.
Yeah, because you had the Mets that were up 4-0.
Yeah.
Mets were up 4-0. And Philly's like, right, we'll just score
Right.
5 in the 8th and go ahead and win it. So that's a bad beat. That is unfortunate. What is fortunate, though, is we have 2 of the best here within our company now joining us right now. Steve Buchanan, Gary and Thorne. Hello, everybody. Steve, you look very happy. How are you?
Hold on. We want to talk about a bad beat last night. How about the Rangers and the Rockies? Whatever that was, that the illegal slide into second base.
Oh, my
yeah.
God, yes.
Get out of here with that crap, okay? That was a bad beat. If you think the Mets are going to hold the lead at any point in this season, that's not a bad beat. That's normal. A bad beat was Rangers, Rockies last night. That was a bad beat.
You know, that was technically the right call. It's just a bad rule.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Yes,
Nope.
it was.
Nope. Nope.
No. All right. Yes, it was.
Nope.
So, all right. Wow, you're already putting up your bukes, which is you're
What
already.
about putting up your butt in the
Oh
yeah.
my God, Steve, did you see that?
Did you see that?
Who was that on the A's
yeah.
right off the?
Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
Sean Murphy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been working on that butt, I'll tell you.
I tell
Yeah.
you, the control he has over that gluteus maximus, he just popped it away. That was crazy.
Garion, he does not skip like leg day and
day.
lunges. Like
You can say
lunges a
butt
lot.
day. There's such thing as butt day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I've said much worse.
No, I'm just saying like squats and stuff.
Yes.
There's
Well,
butt
squats
day.
get your glutes too. Let's get to put up your bukes. Steve, you pick your favorite plays on tonight's slate. Gary, and either you agree or pivot. Who's your favorite pitcher, Steve?
Yeah, I'm sure everybody has a really good understanding of this segment after the great job you guys did of explaining it. But Gary and I will go through the segment, and hopefully you'll catch up as we go along. Jesus Luzardo going tonight for the Marlins up against the Angels. Coming off a really strong spring. Look at this guy. Get in controls on walking around. Can't even listen. Jesus Luzardo coming off a really nice spring training. 11 2/3 inning, .77 ERA, 1.03 whip, and a 10-3 strikeout to walk rate. We have an Angels team that is not going to be particularly strong against lefties. On a normal basis, this team is running out 4 to 5 lefties when they're facing right-handed pitching. So they're going to have to go to some of their bench players when they are facing lefties. Now, I know Luzardo had some brutal numbers last year, but this kid obviously has a lot of talent. He came through the Oakland system, which means once you are, up in the majors, they ship you off. They don't want to keep anybody. That's how it is as an Oakland A. But, Luzardo induces a lot of ground balls. This Angels team has the potential to strike out a lot. So on a slate that really doesn't have a lot of strong pitching options, I think going down the board to Luzardo isn't the worst move you can make tonight.
All right, what do you want to do here, Garion? You going to put up your bukes? You going to fight him?
Well, as we all know, going back to last season, let's just refresh. I never tie in this segment. That is Nick Fryer territory. That is not something that I do.
Total loser.
Tough because Steve and I often have the exact same. We share a brain usually when it comes to baseball, and I have written up Jesus Luzardo as my value pitcher over on the DK playbook for MLB targets for tonight's 9-game slate, if anyone wants to go check that out. But thankfully, Steve, who assigns my articles, has me write up 2 pitchers. So I will just go with the other pitcher. As he mentioned, this is like one of my favorite slates of the year. We only get it once, but it's most teams' 5th game, which means pretty much across the board, we are getting everyone's worst starting pitcher. It is a glorious night of DFS baseball. But a couple guys kind of fall through the cracks, and one of those dudes is Yu Darvish. And look, it's boring to take the most expensive pitcher on the slate most nights. This is a night where boring is at a premium. I mean, Darvish, not a boring guy by any means. He's coming off 6 no-hit innings in his first start of the season. But I think the key thing with Darvish is just he threw 92 pitches his last time out. Yu Darvish is about the only person I can guarantee who can throw 100 pitches on tonight's slate, because most of these guys, again, are either bad or they are making their first start of the season. I mean, Andrew Heaney is the 4th most expensive starter on this slate. Whenever you get a slate like that, just take a layup like Yu Darvish and be happy, and probably use Jesus Luzardo as your second pitcher.
Okay.
Okay. Steve, how about the infielder that you're going to be going with here?
Yeah, we're going to go with Ozzie Albies at 4,700, going up one of my most favorite guys to target against, which is Patrick Corbin. All that guy does is give souvenirs to the fans because opposing batters are knocking it out of the park every time he takes the mound. Now we have Albies, who was excellent against lefties last season. 393 WOBA, 262 isolated power, and a 144 WRC plus against them. That isolated power got even better at home last year. 302 on the year. Patrick Corbin had a decent start by his standards, and during opening day, 2 runs on 4 hits. I think he made it through 4 innings. Congratulations. Hard-earned money right there for him. That was a great start. But now you have a much stronger offense going up against the Braves. They really do hit lefties well. That's going to be a tough lineup to get through, and Albies hitting near the top of that lineup should pay off at 4,700 tonight.
All right, Steve, making a compelling case for Ozzie Albies.
Oh, you have him in your article, Garion, today. You cannot push back on this now. Otherwise, you'd be a fraud.
No,
Like
I won't push back. I'll just pivot.
Okay.
I'll say that I'm also, as much as I like Ozzie Albies, I would probably prefer to use someone with a little bit more pop, and that would be Josh Donaldson, who I'm really feeling the Yankees lineup tonight. They were shut out last night, so maybe even in tournaments, you're going to get a couple people a little wary of that lineup. But Yusei Kikuchi was just absolutely destroyed by right-handed bats the final 3 months of last season. Righties combined for an 588 slugging percentage, a 423 WOBA against Kikuchi in that 3-month span last season. And he's going up against a lineup that just doesn't have good right-handed hitters. They have generational right-handed power hitters in Donaldson, Judge, and Giancarlo Stanton. And you're getting pretty good value, I think, with Donaldson at under 5K. He hasn't gotten off to the hottest start in 2022, but the contact numbers were off the charts last season. This guy can still swing the bat, and he's hitting leadoff right now for the Yankees. So 5 plate appearances is probably pretty guaranteed in this contest against Kikuchi, who I just don't think is going to last very long in this game. So I think the top part of that Yankees order is really a situation you want to exploit tonight.
Steven, take us to outfield. Who's your guy tonight?
Yeah, Dylan Carlson at 4,400. You don't have to pay all this salary for a stud outfielder tonight. Already in the early going of this season, 4 for 10, 2 doubles, couple RBIs, a stolen base. All of that is going to lead to some really high fantasy output. Tonight, he's facing Daniel Lynch, who all he did during spring training was copy Patrick Corbin and give up a ton of bombs. 4 home runs pitched. Everybody pitched like 5 innings in spring training. How did you give up 4 home runs already? If that is something we're going to see all season long, it's going to be a long season for Mr. Lynch. This is a contact pitcher, strikes out less than a batter an inning, shaky with his command. Then you have Dylan Carlson, who is a switch hitter at the top of that Cardinals lineup when he's facing lefties. Since his call-up last year, 382 WOBA, 179 isolated power, and a 143 I love you too WRC plus. Carlson at 4,400. That's your guy at outfield tonight.
All right, Gary, and you agree here? You're going to pivot? I can tell you the Royals are allowing opponents to hit 308 this season. 27 runs given up in the last 2 games, too, which is not great.
To the Guardians.
Yeah, this is it's a pretty nice spot for Carlson, and you always want to use him, as Steve was mentioning, against left-handed pitching when you can. Another guy you just want to use whenever he is facing a left-handed pitcher, regardless of who that pitcher is Teoscar Hernandez, who is massively underpriced at just $4,600. He's going up against Nestor Cortez, who had a really, really great run last season, transitioning from the Yankees bullpen into their rotation in an emergency situation, but sort of blew up towards the tail end of that. There's a reason he's the 5th starter for the Yankees and not the 3rd starter for the Yankees. I don't think Hernandez is going to be scared of this left-handed pitcher, nor should he be afraid of any left-handed pitcher. You look back to last season among qualified hitters, he was 1st in OPS against lefties. He was 1st in WRC plus against lefties. He was 2nd in isolated power at 372 against left-handed pitching, and his expected WOBA was also the 3rd best qualified mark in baseball within the split. Anytime the Jays are facing a left-handed pitcher, you want to get Teoscar Hernandez into a lineup, especially, again, if he is just like criminally underpriced below $5,000.
All right, let's talk about some value here. Steve, where are you going to go here?
You want to talk about somebody that's underpriced, not overpriced. Overpriced would be insane. Underpriced. Trey Mancini at 2,900 tonight is laughable, especially when he's going up against a lefty. Eric Lauer gives up a lot of fly balls. He's someone that can lose his command quickly and has a K9 of 7.2. So he's mainly relying on contact to get outs. Not going to get a lot of outs, especially when he's going up against Mancini, who had his best numbers of the year really throughout his career. Against lefties, 247 ISO last year, 140 WRC plus. Against lefties, I know you want to pay up at the first base position, but at 2,900, somebody with some decent pop in this matchup, it's almost too good to pass up as a value play. Helps you jam in some of those more expensive guys that we've talked about earlier in the show. Mancini, 2,900, that's just criminally too low in price.
Well. Trey Mancini also written up in Garian's article.
What? Look at this.
He said it's weird to see the veteran with a price tag below $3K.
Wow.
Did say that.
Yep.
But again, I do not push on this segment, so we will go to another person I wrote up this morning, Brad Miller. This Texas team is implied for over 6 runs. They have the highest implied run total on tonight's slate, and the reason for that is Chad Kuhl, who, yes, this game isn't in Colorado, but guess where it's not, because he doesn't pitch for the Pirates anymore. It's not in PNC, which was the only place where Chad Kuhl could pitch without getting absolutely destroyed. This guy had a 7.32 ERA on the road last season. He's a righty who cannot get left-handed bats out, and Brad Miller has been fantastic, not just this season, but even last season against right-handed pitching. He had a 842 OPS when he was still playing with the Phillies. There's a reason the Rangers signed this guy and immediately stuck him on top of their lineup when they are facing a right-handed pitcher. So Miller is just $3,400, and the versatility he gives you by being able to play him at either third base or any of those outfield slots, that's an amazing asset to have with one of these value plays, because he can really make a lot of things work with that versatility.
All right, Steve, let's get you guys out of here quick on this one. Sportsbook bet. You're looking at some Rangers revenge, possibly?
Yeah, I mean, Gary was just talking about Chad, anything but cool, taking them out tonight. Rangers team total going over 5.5 runs. They would have went over their team total last night, but I think somebody breathed on the second base and they said, oh, no, you can't do that. The game's over now. That's not going to happen tonight. The Rangers are going to be angry, and they're going to get to Chad Kuhl early and often. Give me over 5.5 runs for a lot of the reasons Gary just laid out.
All right, Gary Barry, you're obviously on board with that.
Yeah, I like that one a lot. I would also look at Dodgers money line here. They're just minus 135 as road favorites against the Twins. I know Andrew Heaney is pitching for the Dodgers, but Chris Archer is pitching for the Twins. This is like a complete wash for me. I'm just going to take the better team at a relatively low price tag. Give me the Dodgers money line.
All right, good stuff, guys. You nailed it.
Yeah. Great, smooth segment from top to bottom.
Love it. Appreciate you both.
Oh, yeah.
This will be right back. We're going to talk some NHL, including a dude who's making his debut tonight. All right, we'll be right back.
The dude's debut. Yo, tonight's NHL slate, it is thick, it is ginormous, it is filled with 14 games. One of those games will include the debut of Owen Power, who was drafted #1 overall by Buffalo in 2021. So just coming out of Michigan here, 33 games last season there at the college ranks, 3 goals, 29 apples.
Yeah.
Okay, and they're playing in Toronto, and I believe he grew up in that neck of the woods.
I'm not going to try and say the
Maybe
Mississauga.
All right, maybe RotoWire's Paul Bruno or AJ Scholes, along with NHL.com fantasy editor Anna Dua, can help us out. Paul, how do you pronounce that suburb?
Mississauga.
Mississauga.
Okay.
Mississauga.
Okay, awesome.
I nailed it. Just kidding.
Hey, Paul, you gonna roster him? $2,500 tonight? That's your kid.
No way. The guy's going to be nervous as all get out here. I mean, and you mentioned it. I mean, you mentioned all the points. He's got a total of 6 goals over 2 seasons. This is not a big-time goal scorer we're talking about. He's a defenseman, a big, hulking specimen of a player. 6'6", 213 are the stats. And 48 points over 59 games. Sure, he's going to be involved in the offensive play, but I don't think he's a finisher. I don't think he's going to be counted on to score. I think he's more of a two-way presence on that blue line. A nice compliment to what they have already in Rasmus Dahlin. Going to man that blue line for the next 10 years, and that should improve Buffalo's prospects.
Yo, Anna, what do you think his long-term fantasy outlook is?
I love Power. I think he's a great defenseman. He's a defenseman we actually haven't seen in quite some time in the NHL. He's a big guy. He can skate well. He did well at Michigan. He had 32 points, 33 games played. I do agree that tonight might not be the night he's coming into the NHL facing off against a Maple Leafs team that has no regulation losses in their last 8 games. So maybe not tonight, but for the rest of this regular season and onwards, he is definitely someone to keep an eye on. The whole Sabres, actually, just a great group of guys.
Hey, AJ, it's hard to miss him. As Paul's mentioned, he's 6 feet 6 inches tall.
Without skates on.
Without skates, so that means he's probably 8 feet tall.
Yeah.
That's a big boy.
Yeah, it is.
Look, I actually think these two are wrong. I think you should use Power tonight because, as you said, Emerson, $2,500. Like at $2,500, I'm not asking for a goal here. Maybe pick up an assist. Might get out there with the second power play unit. Maybe they even toss him with the first. That historically, a lot of teams will do that in guys' first game to get them some minutes that they're a little more comfortable in. They'll put them in power play situations. So at $2,500, I think he's a great play tonight. Picks up assists, maybe a couple shots. I mean, all that is worth the value. You don't have to have a guy scoring goals when you're paying so low for him, and it'll let you build up the rest of your roster. I don't care that the Leafs have been winning either. Fact of the matter is they've also been allowing a few goals. So there's a good opportunity here. I think Power's in play tonight.
All right, and if you play him, like you said, he's $2,500, so you can build up your lineup in other spots.
Studs.
So we got some expensive guys tonight. Center spot, absolutely loaded, stacked here. You got Matthews, McDavid, Barkov, Eichel, Crosby, like ton of star power up the middle. So AJ, who's worth their price tonight? Because you can spend up here.
Crosby maybe?
I mean, always worth it, right?
Yeah.
And I will say, I wasn't going to mention him, but since you brought him up, Emerson, like historically, Crosby plays better when Malkin's out of the lineup and vice versa. So it might not be a bad play tonight. But instead, I'm actually going to look at Leon Draisaitl for 7,500. That's a huge savings compared to McDavid. It's not the best matchup in Minnesota. Their goaltending, regardless of who it's been, has been great. They are going to go with Cam Talbot tonight. But he's got 9 shots in his last 2 games, despite being held off the score sheet. So I think using Draisaitl here makes a lot of sense. He saves you some money compared to the top guys, so you don't have to punt in too many spots here. And I think it's primed for him to get back in there. Like I said, 9 shots in his last 2 games. The points are coming.
All right, Anna, what do you think? Who do you want to pay up for at center tonight?
Tons of great centers. You mentioned Matthews, Barkov, Crosby, all in favorable matchups too. Matthews, 16-game point streak, tough to argue against him, 31 points, 21 goals in that stretch. But I'm actually going to raise you Josh Norris of the Ottawa Senators. He's playing against the Detroit Red Wings tonight. He has points in 8 out of his last 9 games. He's been playing so well lately, 32 shots on net during those last 8 games. He leads the Sens in goals, second on the team in points behind his line mate in Brady Tkachuk. And he performs well on the road. He has 26 points, 17 goals in 30 away games this season. And against the Detroit Red Wings, he scored 4 goals this season, which is the most he scored against any singular team. So I'm going with Norris, who's at 6,300, so not bad.
All right, Paul, who are you going with in the center position?
Well, I like AJ's call on Draisaitl, so I won't double down on that. I'm going to say Austin Matthews is a hard guy to ignore, too, when he's got almost 6 shots on goal in the last 10 games played. I haven't talked about anybody all season with that kind of shot volume alone. That makes him almost reasonable at the $9,800. But then you add in the fact that he's a goal-scoring machine, and that becomes a palatable pick for me. I'll also talk about a couple of other guys that I really like, though. Jack Eichel finally looking like the offensive leader of a finally motivated Golden Knights attack. He has 6 goals and 9 points and 44 shots in his last 10 games played. So he's really rolling. You get him for only $7,900. And then, of course, Alex Barkov leading the most potent attack in all of hockey with $8,500 his price tag. A great matchup against the visiting Anaheim club. He comes in hot with 8 goals and 17 points, along with 34 shots on goal in his last 10. It's a mismatch against Ducks centers that are slow and they're not physical, and the defense, they give up a lot of goals here too.
Hey, Anna, how about on the wing? Like Ovechkin, Marner, Kucherov, all 8K or more. So who's the guy do you think people should be paying up for?
Once again, on the wing, tons of great option. I don't want to steal Paul's brand here, but Mitch Marner having an unreal time right now, too. He's on a 13-game point streak. It seems like Toronto just can't keep themselves off the scoreboard. But Ovechkin actually is playing against the Philadelphia Flyers, which is always a great matchup. 3-game goal streak. Nicholas Backstrom coming back into the lineup tonight to help revitalize that Washington core. Washington's holding on to that last wild card spot in the East. They probably want to head into the playoffs with a little bit of momentum. So I'm going Alex Ovechkin tonight. All
right, cool. Good pick there. Paul, what about you?
And I'll never be shy about mentioning the Leafs. I love watching AJ squirm, and it's 2-on-1 against him for a game. You know, the hottest scorer in the league is one of these options. You got the top goal scorer among this trio, Ovechkin, as the leader of the 2-time Stanley Cup champs in this group is Kucherov. So there's a compelling case for each of these guys. Of the 3, I would go with Ovechkin. He has the best matchup against the Philly team that's lacking in motivation. They're playing out the string here, and they're the worst opponent of the 3 for the 3 stars tonight as well. Ovechkin and company could be in for a big night with this mismatch, and I'm there for it. Even though he cost $8,300, I see him adding to those 7 goals in his last 10 games played. The best matchup, though, among the top shooters, it belongs to Johnny Gaudreau, who faces Seattle at home tonight. He's right up there with Marner over the past month in scoring, and 32 shots on goal in the last 10 games, just the tip of the iceberg. He costs only $7,600. He's going to pad all those stats tonight.
AJ, who's it you're going to pay up for on the wing?
How am I the guy that's going to say, like, Mitch Marner's the way to go, right? Like, I'm the one person here not from Toronto. Like, what is going on here? Look, 13-game point streak, a fantastic matchup versus Buffalo, and somehow not the most expensive player on the board. I think he should cost more than Ovechkin tonight. 9 of those 13 games have been multi-point efforts, so it's practically automatic at this point. I mean, the one argument you can make is that maybe everybody else is going to be on him. So you go contrarian in like a GPP and fade him, but I doubt that's going to pay off when he picks up 2 or 3 points tonight. Absolutely have to have Marner.
All right, real quick, give us a value play that you like for tonight that we haven't mentioned yet, Paul.
Jake DeBrusk has capitalized on his promotion of the Boston top line, 7 goals and 10 points in his last 10 games played, costing only $4,000. Ditto for Jack Eichel's winger, Evgeny Dadonov. He's got 12 points and 6 goals in his last 3 weeks. And then finally, with Ovechkin producing, I look at the opposite wing for Tom Wilson, who's also firing all kinds of shots, 33 in his last 10 games played. He's got 5 goals and 9 points in that stretch. And don't forget, he's got that tasty matchup against Philly.
All right, AJ.
For me, it's Jeff Carter. I mean, of course it is, right? But 3,900 for a guy that's going to move into Malkin's spot on the number 2 line for Pittsburgh here. Super cheap. Great upgrade for him. He's going to play with Jason Zucker and Ricard Raquel. Isles are going with Sorokin here, so it is maybe a tougher goalie matchup. Sorokin's actually been pretty good lately, but at 3,900, Jeff Carter for second-line minutes is huge.
All right, Anna, value.
I'm going with Matt Boldy out of Minnesota. He's playing the Edmonton Oilers tonight, which is a tough matchup, but the last time he played the Oilers in February, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. He's on a 3-game point streak right now. He has 5 points in that span. He had 5 shots against the Kings the last time he played them on Sunday, and he's tied for the most points per game out of any rookie in the NHL with Anaheim's Trevor Zegras with a .81 right now. He's on a great line with Kevin Fiala playing the other wing on this line. Fiala has 2 points, 1 goal, 1 assist, and 14 shots on net in his last 3 games. So I think that entire line is someone to keep an eye on.
All right, you three, tremendous work. We'll catch up with everyone a little later. We got one more break to go, one more block to go, talking PGA with Jeff and Colin. Next, surprise, surprise, puppy surprise. All right, let's talk some golf, right? I know everyone's kind of like feeling down because the Masters is over.
Yeah.
No way, dude. We're going to Hilton Head, RBC Heritage. Hey, Jeff Ulrich, good to have you here. Pierce Dietrich, just kidding earlier about like Colin joining us because Colin just doesn't answer emails and didn't show up.
Yeah.
But Pierce is actually nailing down like golf picks lately. Like he's been on absolute fire and Jeff feels threatened. So let's do some price check. Let's for the
All right, let's start with the pricey guys in the 10K plus range.
Yeah.
Emerson's really trying to get you guys fired up. Jeff, who do you like from this price range?
5 guys.
Well, I know Pierce is going to bring out some book about like Dustin Johnson's like, wrist pain or something like that. So I'm just going to take the chalk here. I think Justin Thomas is the play. He's only 11-1. He's plus 900 this week. But you look at everything Thomas is doing right now, which is just gaining strokes, multiple strokes on approach in every single start. His short game is starting to get more and more refined and sharp. And typically when we've seen this from Justin Thomas, like the breakthrough happens. He's also got probably the best upside / experience of the top 5 guys. Maybe sans Patrick Cantlay, who's almost won here a couple times, but Cantlay's really just not in good form right now. So Justin Thomas has the experience factor. He's won at another Pete Dye venue in TPC Sawgrass. And you've just got options beneath him that I just don't like as much. Cam Smith was hooking every single drive into the woods last Sunday. Dustin Johnson, I just don't like this setup for him. Colin Morikawa is the other name I think people will be drawn to, and he is too cheap. But I'll pay up for Justin Thomas. I just like his course experience over Morikawa this week.
All right, 5 guys to choose from, Pierce. Who are you going with?
Well, the book that I will reference is Jeff's article this week and every week. It's pretty lengthy, but you should check it out at DK Nation. There's tons of good information in it. And Thomas is mentioned in there, and he's definitely a guy that we want to target this week. Strokes gained on approach, he is 5th, 20th in ball striking, and those seem to be the 2 metrics that we want to target at this course in South Carolina. And then the other thing that we always look at is current form, and he is at the top, finishing 8th at the Masters last week. Finished with 3 solid rounds. If his first round would have been better, then possibly he could have been in contention at the Masters. I think he's got a handful of top 10s and top 5s leading into that event. So strokes gained on approach, ball striking, current form, it's all there. He's the guy that I would pay up for.
All right, as we make our way to the 9K range here, Pierce, a couple guys with some pretty decent form coming off the Masters. I mean, Shane Lowry there, Sung J M, Neiman's in that price range, $9,100.
I go with Corey Connors, and I'll reference the DK Nation articles again. Reed points out in his article that when we're talking about shots gained total at Pete Dye courses over the last 24 rounds, it's Connors doing that. Shots gained on approach, he is top of the
He's up there.
43rd, which we'd like to see be a little bit better. 3rd in ball striking. The Masters, he finished 6th, 26th at the Players. So he's got the current form. He hits the metrics that we want to see. Last year, he finished 4th at RBC. The year before that, he had another solid finish. So current form, course history, and he's hitting the metrics. I will go with Connors.
Yeah, and he's doing pretty well against fields that aren't very lousy
Did you
either.
just call me Garion?
Who?
I didn't call you Garion. What are you talking about? Did you just panic?
No, you called me Garion.
I've rattled him.
I didn't call him Garion.
Sorry, I just retake. I'm sorry.
Okay,
All
ready?
I'm
3,
My
2,
internet connection is
And
wonky.
scene.
All right, here we go. I was actually about to praise
I'm not
your fellow.
offended. I just like, what are you doing?
I
But
was
that's
about
fine.
to
It didn't
praise your
happen.
fellow Canadian like Corey Connors, and like when he plays against strong fields, like he tends to show up like WGC match play, like took 3rd place there, and then T11 at the API. Okay,
Let's get.
go ahead, Garion.
Let's get to some actual golf analysis here. Connors is the safe play here. There's no doubt. He's finished very, very well at this event over the last few years. Pierce brought up a good stat, which is the Pete Dye metric, and Connors sets up well for it just because he's such an elite iron player. His ball striking has been good. He started the year slow, but the ball striking is back. The thing I worry about with Connors at an event like this is just the short game. You have to have a short game around this track because the greens are the smallest on tour. Everybody has to get up and down at some point, and Connors just is not elite, and that's just not a good part of his game. He's not up there with the elite players in that metric. I would probably say that if you're going with GPPs, I would just go down one notch to Daniel Berger. You get the same kind of iron play, but Berger has shown that when he gets to these short tracks, he can dominate them. He dominated the PGA National for 3.5 rounds. He's finished T3 at this event. His 2 wins at TPC Southwind, very similar course, perhaps the most correlated course to RBC Hilton Head, or at least one of them. So Berger is the guy for GPPs I'd be interested in. He shot 80 last Sunday. No one's playing Daniel Berger this week, but he also is coming off like basically a weekend of rest because he wasn't even in contention. So I like Berger for GPPs, but Pierce brings up a good point. Like Connors is definitely the safe play in the 9K range.
All right, let's talk about that 8K range. Got some big names here. Siwoo Kim is in there. I saw you wrote up Webb Simpson in your article, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, look, Webb Simpson is just an absolute beast at this course. I mean, this is one of those courses where you get like certain veterans who are just so consistent here. Matt Kuchar, Webb Simpson. These guys just don't miss the cut here. And Webb is fine at 8,800. Like he's shown, he made the cut last week. He had some injury issues to start the year, but T35 at Augusta. Again, it's just so simple, but it's almost just like this is just one of those events where you just almost want to just take the easy plays because these guys always pay off at these courses. And Webb Simpson at 8,800 coming off 2 made cuts. He looks healthy now. It's absolutely fine. If you're going down, if you're going for the big home run, though, there are a lot of playable players in this range. Siwoo Kim, another guy I wrote up, 8,400. His upside here, I think, is actually better than Webb's this week. He's made 10 cuts in a row. You saw him put together some really, really good 9-hole stretches at Augusta. I think Siwoo's close. He absolutely dominates Pete Dye courses too, but the safe play again in this range is Webb Simpson, just like Corey Connors. And I think the upside GPP play, you go with Siwoo.
All right, Pierce, who are you going with in this 8K range?
So my first two were pretty chalky, so I'll go a little different here with Billy Horschel. He finished 43rd at the Masters. Probably let a lot of people down. Tough course, bad weather. But if you look at his final round, it was pretty strong. And then outside of that, he's had pretty solid current form. Second at Arnold Palmer, top 10 at Waste Management. I think 11th at Farmers. So the current form is there. Ball striking is there. Putting is there. I don't know if putting is going to be as big of a deal with the smaller greens, but if you have a good putter, I definitely will take you. The approach is going to be the concern with him. He hasn't been good at approach. Obviously, he had that bad round at the Masters. So that probably is going to lower his ownership, but he still has upside. He finished 25th at the RBC last year. He missed the cut in 2020, but that was, the first event back from COVID. So that was just a strange event. You go back to 2018, he finished 5th at this course. So he does have some success at the course. His current form is fine other than the first tough rounds at the Masters. Putting's there, ball striking's there, and I think you will get low ownership on him.
Huh. All right, let's just get right to slate-approved pick. Who wins the RBC Heritage? Jeff?
I'm going to go with the value play. We've seen lots of mid-range targets come through. I like Adam Hadwin this week, 7,600. First in proximity over the last 24 rounds. The short game is coming around, too. I think Adam Hadwin has a real chance this week. And yesterday, he was available at plus 6,500 on the DraftKings Sportsbook. Don't know what his odds are now, but yesterday it was really good value out there.
Okay, Pierce, bring us home.
Patton Kazire at 180-1. So I'm not a DFS writer, and I don't have a reputation that I have to maintain, so I can give some of these nuclear hot takes. Everybody's writing this guy up in DFS, so why not take him in betting action? Approach is okay. He's played well recently. His putting's kind of up and down. Really what it comes down to is if he can putt. Now, if you Google him and his putting, you get a Bo Jackson video of him snapping one in half.
Okay.
But if his putting's there, I think the approach is going to be there, and he's got a chance of pulling this thing down.
Love a wild card pick from Pierce. All right,
Me
that's
too.
a show, everybody.
Great job.
The slate is coming on at 5 p.m. It's going to be Shirag and Meiselman breaking down the play-in game, so make sure you tune into that. The Sweat going to be back tomorrow at 11 a.m. hosted by you.
Very much looking forward to it. You are not here tomorrow.
I have a doctor's appointment. I am 37 weeks pregnant.
Yes, she is.